afternoon, we're going to start with Sydney Estes from Hermiston, and her speech topic and title is The Progressive Movement of Artificial Insemination. You're good, Sydney.
Okay. What comes to mind when you think of cattle? Does the thought of a sizzling, juicy burger pop into your head? Or maybe your local county fair and all the different breeds of cattle you see there. When I think of cattle, I get excited. I start to think about improvements in technology, genetic advancements, and the opportunities to be part of something I am so passionate for. Now, there's no question the cattle industry holds a special place in my heart. And if you were to ask me what has been the most epic event in the world of cattle, there's no doubt that I would say the creation of artificial insemination. Artificial insemination, or AI for short, has made innovative improvements to the cattle industry across the globe. The process is scientific and yet simple, as animal scientists collect sperm cells from a male animal and manually deposit them into the reproductive tract of a female. Artificial insemination is the leading tool allowing beef cattle ranchers across our country and world to improve genetic quality, reduce breeding costs, and increase breed diversity. Ever since artificial insemination became a realistic tool for cattle ranchers in the early 1930s, increased numbers of beef producers implemented AI as a reproductive strategy. Artificial insemination improves hybrid vigor and mitigates breeding costs. In order to make a profit, producers rely on AI to address concerns within their herd as they look to increase overall quality. These improvements include managing birthing weights, increasing weaning weights, improving conception rates, and promoting calving ease. When cattle ranchers choose the semen to breed their herd, they look for specific characteristics, more easily accessed through AI utilization, rather than natural breeding. Simply put, producers choose what they want and don't want in their herd. Now, let's talk about money. Both large and small beef herds can benefit from artificial insemination in terms of money saved. Beef herds with a higher number of cattle save more because their need for live bulls after AI utilization is lower than if they were to just turn bulls out onto an entire cow herd without using AI. Smaller beef herds can also benefit because while they're on a smaller scale, they too would need fewer expensive breeding bulls each year. Now, on average, it costs an estimated $50 per cow to artificially inseminate. Now, compared to traditional breeding, AI can reduce the total cost by up to $50 more. Overall, artificial insemination is a substantial alternative, which significantly benefits producers. Semen selection is another factor that helps improve genetic quality and diversity among cattle herds. There is ample scientific evidence that artificial insemination improves carcass quality, promotes calving ease, and allows ranchers to select for temperament. When choosing the semen to breed a herd, producers are able to favor the semen that best fits their standards and expectations for their operation. Artificial insemination can also improve fertility rates among cattle herds, as cows who take to AI will calve first during the calving season, allowing them more time to go through uterine involution prior to their next breeding season. According to an article from All West Select Sires regarding artificial insemination, heifers that are born early in the calving season are more likely to conceive early in their first breeding season and subsequent breeding seasons, wean heavier calves, and are more profitable in their lifetime than their later born contemporaries. Because fertility is highly heritable, daughters of cows that have been AI'd will carry out that fertility trait and continue their trend of high fertility. Artificial insemination is the oldest technique in the spectrum of assisted reproductive technologies. As AI continues to advance, we will see progressive movements in the reproductive sector. Several new developments have been introduced and are on the cutting edge of animal agriculture. It's the #1 reproductive strategy out there, revolutionizing the capabilities of animal breeding in the 20th century. No other process or producer has changed the face of domestic livestock production in the same way. Artificial insemination, changing decades and lives in the exciting new world of cattle production. Thank you.
Second speaker this afternoon is Mackenzie Saunders from Crater, and her speech topic is misleading information and its effect on agriculture. All you.
Don't let Forever 21 pull wool over your eyes. Oh yeah, and have a heart, don't buy wool. Fake news, it's everywhere. Whether it's celebrity gossip, fun facts on politics, or a completely fake story, it's hard to avoid. But have you ever thought about it in agriculture? Hello, my name is Mackenzie Saunders, and today I'll be discussing misleading information and its effects on the agricultural industry. When I scroll through social media, I see posts on just about everything. And in the last couple of months, I've seen more and more posts on anti-agriculture related subjects. Seeing these posts, I've seen one organization, the purpose seems to be to spread this message. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA, is an anti-animal agricultural activist organization that has multiple billboards, ads, and signs to share their beliefs to the community. But some people question the information PETA is putting out and the way they are portraying their problems. PETA puts a dark and violent light on most things related to agriculture, and some of the problems they frequently run into include drinking milk, eating meat, and wool harvesting. Now, in 2016, PETA released a campaign called Have a Heart, Don't Buy Wool. This campaign encourages people to stay away from wool and remove wool from their closets by pledge because of animal suffrage. Instead, they have other ethical materials that you should buy, like synthetic shirling, polyester fleece, and cotton. Now, I believe it is important to have choices, and especially in something like the fashion industry. But I do not believe that the information PETA is putting out and the emotional agenda PETA is pushing on consumers is correct. As I said before, PETA's campaign focuses on animal suffrage, and one of the operations they specifically deal with is called mulesing. Mulesing is when you remove the backside skin of an animal, hoping that a stretch of scar tissue grows back to prevent the parasitic infection called fly strike, which if not treated can be lethal. But it is important for clothing consumers to know this is not how we collect wool as PETA implied, and it's banned in the United States and New Zealand. Instead, we use shearing. Shearing is an operation done where you cut the wool fibers off of the sheep, and it results in barely any injury. If there is injury, it's small, such as nits and cuts, that are treated right afterwards. Now, this does not sound as barbaric as PETA was making it sound. And as the American Society of Animal Science states, as long as they're sheep, shearing must be practiced for the health and hygiene of every individual animal. This is an example of misleading information, but there's also a lack of information in PETA's campaign. PETA forgets to mention that their ethical materials are somewhat not environmentally friendly and have chemicals, dyes, and are made of plastic that make it hard to degrade and can pollute the air and our water. This is how organizations can push consumers away from products by using lacks of information and misleading. But there's also one more cause to all this badness. This is celebrity viewpoints. Celebrity viewpoints are also affecting how people look at the agricultural industry. When one person follows a role model of a celebrity and they post a campaign or they support someone like PETA, they're quickly often to join their side without looking at research for themselves and understanding the argument. This might not sound like a big deal to some, and I get that, but it is. If we keep having these big things occur, we will start to lose more supporters and gain more protests, as well as it's sadly changing the way people look at farmers. Farmers went from being looked at as kind, warm-hearted, and generous people to now being looked at as mean, barbaric, and untrustworthy, which is simply sad because these people are the ones who are carrying our world on their backs and providing for us. But I believe together we can fix this issue. And it all starts with us. If we start taking our own time to research causes that we invest in and share the information with others, we can slowly reduce this problem, as well as using tools like social media. And people are already using these tools. There's our educated arguments going on in PETA's comment section right now, saying they don't believe that all the information PETA's putting out is correct, and trying to give people another information, different links or websites to sway them away from the misleading information that PETA's causing. In a world that needs agriculture to survive, I believe stopping or reducing misleading information in agriculture will help it successfully thrive in the future. Thank you.
Davi Cristomoso, and I apologize if I mess up your last name. He's from Sandy M. Christian, and his topic and speech title is Immigration Reform in Agriculture. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I can just start my speech.
You can start, yep.
All right. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Javier Crisóstomo. Mi padre es de México y ha trabajado en la agricultura americana por toda mi vida. Good morning. My name is Javier Crisóstomo. What I just said in Spanish is that my father is from Mexico and has been employed in American agriculture for my entire life. Once illegal, he now has his U.S. citizenship. Immigrant farm laborers have been a major part of the North American agricultural landscape for more than a century. What few outside of agriculture realize, however, is just how crucial these workers are, just how crucial they are in feeding our hungry world. Recently, our nation's attention has been focused on the southern border, where the United States is facing a crisis over illegal immigration. Sometimes forgotten, as the nation focuses attention on migrants currently trying to cross the border, is that millions of undocumented immigrants continue to positively impact agriculture in the United States. In fact, these workers play a vital role in the U.S. economy. I've met plenty of undocumented workers in my community and the farmers who employ them. These individuals are hard workers who genuinely care about the farmers they work for and the commodities they harvest. Although immigration reform is a controversial political topic, I believe immigrants can continue to be involved in American agriculture and can do so legally. Pew Research Center, a nonpartisan fact tank that informs the public about trends and issues shaping the country, estimates that approximately 11.3 million people are currently living in the U.S. without authorization, and more than half from Mexico. The Department of Agriculture estimates that approximately 50% of the nation's farm workers are unauthorized. Overall, the agricultural industry in the United States has been on the decline since the 1950s. Back then, farming was a family business that employed more than 10 million workers, 77% of whom were classified as family. As of 2000, the latest such data available, only 3 million work on farms, and as mentioned earlier, an estimated half are undocumented. A study conducted by the Cornell Farm Worker Program found that a significant number of dairy farmers are turning to undocumented workers because they're unable to find and keep reliable U.S. citizens to do the job. That is in part because farm work can be physically challenging, dirty, and socially denigrated work. More importantly, it is one of the most dangerous occupations in the U.S. A study commissioned by the dairy industry suggested that if federal labor and immigration policies reduce the number of foreign-born workers by 50%, more than 3,500 dairy farms would close, leading to a significant drop in milk production and a spike in prices of about 30%. Total elimination of immigrant labor would increase milk prices by 90%. The U.S. fruit, vegetable, and meat industries are similarly at risk. And without the help of unauthorized workers, production would drop, and prices consumers pay for food would skyrocket. This has become a particular concern as immigration enforcement in agricultural communities intensifies. Currently, there's no visa program for year-round workers on dairy farms, so the precarious status of these workers poses serious concerns for the economic viability of not just the dairy industry, but also all of agriculture. Farmers and ranchers need a reliable and skilled workforce. Farm work is challenging and often seasonal. And with fewer and fewer Americans growing up on the farm, it is increasingly difficult to find American workers attracted to these kinds of jobs. Although mechanization has decreased the reliance for human labor on farms, machines cannot replace farm labor. There are certain jobs like tending livestock or picking fresh produce which require human touch. Where American workers are unwilling or unavailable, workers from other countries have provided crucial support to American agriculture. Congress needs to pass responsible immigration reform that addresses the nation's current experienced workforce and creates a new flexible guest worker program. Instability in the agricultural workforce places domestic food production at risk. Increasing immigration enforcement without also reforming our worker visa program could cost America $70 billion in agricultural production. The facts are clear. American agriculture needs immigrant labor. A work visa program is essential for the future of agriculture in the United States. Many hardworking immigrants, just like my father, are integrally involved in agriculture in our country. They are good people. They are hard workers, and they deserve to be able to work with the U.S. farmers to continue feeding the world. Thank you.
Speaker is Shayla Edge from North Clackamas FFA, and her speech topic and title is The Overpopulation of Cats, No-Kill versus Traditional Shelters. Go for it.
You're driving through the back roads of your hometown in an area you tend to avoid. You hear a loud clatter and look over to see a colony of cats in an unused lot, starving and sickly. Their ribs show from beneath their thin fur, and they have open fight wounds. Their eyes are sad, and they look up in fear, ready to bolt at a moment's notice. Stray cats are a problem all over the United States. With up to 70 million cats on the streets, we need to take action. There are many ways to solve this problem, and while none are perfect, ultimately as humans, we have a responsibility to care for what is on this planet in order to create the best conditions for both us and the overzealous cat populations. Euthanasia is sometimes necessary. Stray cats left on the streets create many problems and cannot remain there for both their safety and ours. According to the American Bird Conservancy, cats have played a major role in the extinction of 63 species, which has caused a severe loss in biodiversity. For example, in Hawaii, the impressive diversity of birds they once had has been lost after the introduction of cats in the 1700s. Stray cats carry and spread diseases. The most common are FIV, or feline immunodeficiency virus, and feline leukemia, which are often found in strays. They can also spread diseases to humans, such as salmonella, ringworm, and rabies. The lifestyle of a stray is extremely stressful on their already weakened bodies, so they tend to die young. A hot topic amongst animal rights activists is no-kill versus traditional shelters. While on the surface, no-kill shelters may appear unpopular, they in fact are more effective at managing their populations. A hot topic amongst animal rights activists is no-kill versus traditional shelters. While no-kill shelters are more appealing to the general public, they are the ones spreading the stigma around traditional shelters. They claim they don't kill, and their goal is to adopt out 90% of their animals. However, this is simply a marketing plan to gain donations, appealing to those of us with a soft spot for our furry friends. In reality, they are almost always at capacity, turning away animals, typically leading to further reproduction, adding to the overpopulation problem, or to a more painful death on the streets. If the animal does stay in the shelter and is not adopted out, they die a slow death in an unhappy environment just to keep up the shelter's adoption rates. Traditional shelters give every animal a chance at a better life, never turning them away for any reason. They also implement euthanasia practices to help manage their populations. While on the surface, traditional shelters may appear unpopular, they in fact are more effective at managing their populations. According to the New York Times, pet euthanasia rates have fallen more than 75% since 2009. A rescue or adoption is now more likely to occur due to an increase in spays and neuters. Among the solutions we have created to decrease stray cat populations is trap, neuter, release, or TNR. TNR is where strays are caught, sterilized, then released back into the wild. In support of this method, it is simply not realistic or effective. For perspective, within 10 years, one female and her offspring can generate a family of over 49,000, even with a 35% sterilization rate. Another challenge with TNR is it ultimately does not decrease the number of strays on the streets. Although it is an uncomfortable conversation, euthanasia is necessary to protect the wildlife around us, as well as our pets and ourselves. Traditional shelters offer the best chance for adoption and livability of healthy cats. As you're driving home this evening, you look in your rearview mirror to see the sun setting on another day. You turn your head and to the right, happen to catch a glimpse of a family, excitedly leaving the shelter with the newest member of their family. This young cat may have known a different fate, but thanks to ethical practices and planning, now gets to live a healthy life in a warm, happy home with its new family. Well, I wish I could adopt every stray cat that I see. As a fellow animal advocate, Jane Goodall would say, the least I can do is speak out for those who cannot speak for themselves, advocating for the most humane lives possible for the cats and other animals in our own communities. Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker is Riley Stokes from Vail. Her topic is Laylee Robotics.
Imagine if dairy cattle didn't have to conform to human schedules, and dairymen didn't have to rely on human workers to be there on time. What if cattle could get milked, eat, and drink on their own schedule, at their own leisure? Well, now this is all possible because of Laylee Robotics. Laylee Robotics is one of the companies that is leading the beginning of a revolutionary change in the dairy industry. Today, I will be talking about the evolution of Laylee Robotics and how they are affecting this new age in the dairy industry. It was 1948 when Cornelius and Ari van der Laylee invented the finger wheel rake. Since then, Laylee has strived to improve everyday manual tasks associated with many areas of agriculture and other similar industries. The robotic milkers, which Laylee is known for, started as a prototype in the 1980s. In 1995, that prototype became Laylee's first robotic milking system. The first robots were installed in the Netherlands, France, and Belgium. By 1997, there were over 100 robots working in barns all around the world. Today, the milking robot is embraced by many dairy farmers. With each generation, the milking robot becomes better and more intuitive, resulting in improved cow health and wellness. Recently, in an article by DairyXNet, it is stated that today there are over 35,000 robotic milking systems operating on dairy farms. The main reasons dairy farmers install these robotic milkers are to improve their lifestyle and to expand without hiring additional labor. Upon doing research and interviewing a local dairyman who uses Laley robots, I've been able to see how much installing these robots give dairymen time to focus on other aspects of their life, as well as manage and improve other areas of their dairies. In addition, the automated robotic milkers are designed to detect health issues, as well as estrous cycles, activity, and rumination. Each cow wears an electronic collar that is used to collect data about the animals. One milking system, which can milk anywhere from 50 to 70 cows, would cost approximately $200,000. Still, the system pays for itself in a few years by reduced labor costs and increased cow production. Managing a farm with milking robots requires a different approach compared to conventional milking. With Laley, the cows are monitored 24/7 versus a couple hours a day under human supervision. As a market leader in fully automated milking, Laley has years of practical experience and results, which allow them to be successful in the field of robotic milking. Recently, in an interview with Mr. Jason Chamberlain, a local dairyman who uses these robots, he explained the economic benefit of the robots to the dairymen. He stated that their cattle were up 3,000 pounds per cow per lactation. Yet, even with this economic benefit, he felt that the overall health and well-being of the cattle was the #1 benefit of the robots. Robotic milking has helped reduce cow stress, thus improving cow health. Stress-free cattle are crucial for every dairy farm. A healthy cow is stress-free, has enough space, and can behave naturally. In this way, dairy farmers can focus on a sustainable, profitable, and enjoyable future. In order to stimulate natural behavior, it is important that the cow is in charge of when she eats, drinks, rests, and gets milk. All of this stimulates her activity, and the results are seen in the milk tank. This freedom of behavior is the essence of what Laley does. Robotic milking, dairy farmers continuously look to optimize their business processes for more efficiency and a better work-life balance. At the same time, governments and society demand more and more from dairy farmers when it comes to animal welfare and sustainability. Laley's innovative solutions help to support dairy farmers in facing these challenges. Robotic milking is truly a revolutionary improvement in the dairy industry. Because of Laley robotics, lives have been changed, animal welfare has improved, and farming efficiency has been reinvented. Thank you.
Speaker is Miss Maddie Prince from Tillamook. Her topic and speech title is Cloning, a future breakthrough or a major upset for the equine industry.
Remember that good old pony that taught you the fundamental lessons of riding? Or that once in a lifetime horse that took you to the winner's circle? Imagine if you could have them again and maybe learn a few more lessons. You must be thinking, no, that couldn't happen. Maybe in the future? But the future is here, and that dream can become a reality through cloning. But is that a good step forward for the horse industry? Or is cloning bringing it one step closer to its downfall? Equine cloning has been around for almost 20 years, and important steps have been made in the process. The first equine ever to be cloned before was a mule named Idaho Jim, born in Idaho in 2003. Since then, multiple horses have been cloned. It costs over $150,000 just to clone a horse, so only high-end trainers and independent breeders can afford it. That is why only the best horses have been cloned. One of them being the famous show-jumping stallion, Quidam de Rebelle. But people are still wondering, Why pay so much just to clone a horse? In December of 2016, Adolfo Cambiaso rode into the polo ring with his team of 6 cloned horses. Each horse cloned from his winning mare, Guataterra. Many people were skeptical of this. Why would any man want to clone his horse? Was it even worth it? They got their answer. The team went on to win the prestigious polo championship. And since then, many equine sports have used cloning, including polo, show jumping, and many others. But even though cloning is a good thing in some people's perspectives, the majority dislike it. Currently, no breeding associations allow clones, including the American Quarter Horse Association, which in 2015 succeeded in a lawsuit forbidding the registration of clones. During the lawsuit, AQHA stated that clones do not have parents. Cloning is not breeding. Over 86% of AQHA members agree that clones have no place in the registration. AQHA believes that clones' origins and largely unstudied health problems make them inferior to the naturally bred horse. Even thoroughbred racing is very clear that no clones are allowed to race on the racetrack. But why? Dr. Doug Ansack, a professor of equine medicine and an equine geneticist at Cornell University, contributed to the forbidding of clones on the racetrack in many ways. He said, the effect of unlimited services from top stallions could disrupt the thoroughbred industry by reducing the need for lots of stallions. Cloning and artificial insemination can have an inappropriate genetic effect on horses by making them more inbred. Sally Hatfield, a breeding manager at a horse farm in Lexington, backs him up by adding, all thoroughbreds go back to 3 stallions. The gene pool is very small. If we make it even smaller, pretty soon, everybody's going to be by the same horse. And even though cloning increases the chances of inbreeding, imagine if we could bring back famous geldings and give them a second chance to come back as stallions and race champions of the next generation. But there are dangers when cloning a horse. Some cloned foals have angular limb deformities, neonatal maladjustment syndrome, septicemia, and premature aging. But these are just some of the risks that you take when cloning a horse. Not all of it is bad. Some clones turn out fine. It's just a matter of chance. The debate of whether or not clones should be allowed will no doubt go on. Cloning can be a very attractive idea to those who can afford it. But there still remains the uncertainty of the future generations of clones. Could the thoroughbred and quarter horse associations be correct? Only time will tell. Clones will never change the world. With clones, we are not moving forward, we are staying the same. Thank you.
Oldest dairy closes. Local dairy pushed out of business. Closing dairy disperses cattle. These are all common headlines affecting the dairy industry. The economics of dairy farming has endangered a way of life, and dairy farms across the nation are facing extinction. Agriculture and the dairy farmer are both at tipping points, and change is necessary for survival. We as dairy farmers must continue to stop the destruction of dairy farming to ensure the success of the industry in the future. From 2017 to 2018, 6.5% of U.S. dairy farms went out of business. There are approximately 37,000 licensed dairies in the U.S. today, down from over 40,000 last year, a grand and devastating drop of 2,700 farms. It is also a huge emotional loss for families who for generations have put so much of themselves into their farms, only to lose it all. The Great Lakes state of Michigan had the most tragic decrease in farms, with a 13% drop in 2018 alone. In that same year, Wisconsin, America's dairyland, also had a 6.5% drop in farms. Now that may not sound like a lot, but in the top dairy state, that's 512 farms, with even more lost in 2019. Here in Oregon, we have lost 10% of our farms in the last 3 years. Even in Clackamas County, my home, we have gone from 10 to 5 farms in less than 18 months. But there's hope. According to a USDA report from 2016, the value of U.S. dairy exports has more than quadrupled from 2004 to 2014. An example of the importance of U.S. dairy exports is that in 1996, exports accounted for 3.6% of dairy production. In 2018, exports accounted for 15.8% of all U.S. dairy output. Dairy is becoming one of the biggest exports in the United States today. In fact, the U.S. is now the third highest dairy exporting country, behind New Zealand and the European Union as of 2015. It is true that the dairy industry can be volatile to the weather, disease, such as the coronavirus, and international economy. But the U.S. has just signed the biggest trade deal in history with Mexico, Canada, and China that will positively impact agricultural goods, including dairy. Plant-based dairy imposters have taken over the shelves. Plant juices currently account for 13% of the U.S. milk market and $1.6 billion in sales. Oat, almond, soy, rice, and coconut milk consumption is all on the rise, even though their nutritional benefits are sporadic. Last year, oat milk was in such high demand that there is a shortage of it. But for what reason? Regular milk has double the protein of oat milk, and it's way more calcium too. All of these milk alternatives need to have things added to them to be nutritious, whereas regular milk is naturally nutritionally dense. One Miss Farm monopoly, Starbucks, has taken a stand by speaking out against the use of dairy in their products to try and lower their carbon footprint, even though they're still charging more for dairy alternatives. Their goal is to increase the number of consumers who do pay extra for dairy alternatives. Today, 15 to 20% of Starbucks customers pay extra for soy, almond, and coconut milk. While plant-based offerings are at an all-time high, that does not mean that great things are happening for the dairy industry. Lactose-reduced and lactose-free sales have gone up by 11% in the last year. In that same amount of time, grass-fed milk sales have also gone up by 51%. Organic milk sales have also gone up by 4.4%. A lot more people have been buying organic milk, which still might put a strain on conventional milk sales, but it's better than people buying plant juice milk replacements. On a more solid side, cheese sales have risen immensely. Per capita consumption of American-style cheeses, such as cheddar, Colby, and Jack, have gone from 11 pounds in 1995 to more than 15 pounds in 2017. Consumption of Italian-style cheeses, dominated by mozzarella, has also gone up by 5 pounds in the same amount of time. The last year has been harder than ever for dairy farmers. Exports and innovation have become increasingly important. We as American dairy farmers must continue to stop the destruction of dairy farming to ensure the success of our industry. I am a 5th-generation dairy farmer, and I, along with my siblings, work hard with my parents and grandparents so that our family farm can live to see another day. It is not an easy life, but just like headlines from across the nation show, it never is. But it's the life of the dairyman. We must continue to persevere for ourselves, our families, and our farms. Thank you.
Final speaker this morning or this afternoon is Megan Scharf from Amity FFA, and her speech and her topic is Oregon's Cap and Trade Plan.
The temperature of the Earth has been changing since the beginning. Argue as to how and why to stop it. Oregon has emerged with a plan to be the great savior. Oregon's plan is House Bill 2020, also known as the Cap and Trade Bill. The programs established under House Bill 2020 set overall limits on greenhouse gas emissions and auction off pollution allowances for each ton of carbon industries plan to emit. Unfortunately, upon further examination of the plan, all it does is further the rural-urban divide in the state. A recent poll by the Senate Republican office shows that the only geographic area of the state that supports the idea of cap and trade is the Tri-County area of the Portland Metro. It also shows a partisan issue, with 76% of Democrats opposed and 70% of Democrats in favor. All other party voters are almost split down the middle completely. Let's take a deep dive into the proposal and why it will not work.
The proposed legislation looked to move everyone to clean energy faster than any other state, despite the fact that Oregon is already one of the lowest carbon emitting states in the US. We are ranked 38th in the nation. The plan was to punish those who use pollutants in every form by making them purchase carbon credits which they would then pass on to everyday consumers such as you and me. Oregon Farm Bureau sent out information to its members about the trickle-down costs if cap and trade were to be implemented. They quoted the State of Oregon Legislative Fiscal Office, also known as the LFO. Fuel at the pump is expected to increase by 22 cents in the first year. Other sources are estimating 72 cents to 90 cents in the first year. When fully implemented by the year 2050, fuel at the pump, on top of all other costs and taxes, could cost anywhere between $1.51 and $5.64. Other energy sectors would also be affected. Natural gas cost is expected to increase by 11 to 13% in the first year of implementation and continue to rise by 53 to 117% by year 2040. And electricity, the clean alternative, is expected to increase by 4.7 to 10.3% in the first year and by 8.3 to 42% by the year 2030, according to PG. How many Oregonians would actually be able to absorb these cost increases? The next concern is how these credits will be purchased by the companies who need to acquire them because they are polluters. Companies will go onto what is basically a stock exchange for carbon credits. There, they will bid on the credits that they need. However, the companies that are trading these credits are not all Oregon companies. For example, an investment firm from New York who owns timber property in Montana, who has plans to never harvest their land, could sell their credits on the market to the highest bidder. No one would ever be able to access who these day traders are, creating a carbon credit black market. They could also artificially inflate the cost of these credits for Oregonians. And if these Oregon companies cannot afford the credits that they need, they will more than likely move their company out of the state. So where does this money go? The funds will be managed by a new division of the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, which will cost millions of dollars itself to run and operate by hiring hundreds of employees. Cap and trade is estimated to generate millions of dollars in the first year. The LFO is estimating $470 million. Does Oregon really need to be the one to save the planet? As stated earlier, Oregon is ranked 38th in the US for carbon emissions, meaning we're already one of the cleanest states. In 2016, Oregon became the only state to completely shut down their only coal facility. What if Oregon focused on gas and diesel emissions and using the clean energy that is being generated? Electric cars are becoming more affordable and there are more varieties available. However, electric trucks, as they are available, are not completely affordable for all small business owners. They are not affordable to purchase or maintain. And electric equipment, such as combines and tractors, are years away from availability. However, the bigger problem we face is the electric grid and its inability to handle the increasing power that would be needed and generated. We are already seeing this with solar projects being done across the US and then not able to hook up to that power grid. A farmer in Marion County recently found himself the hard way. The only people benefiting from cap and trade are the people who make money off of their credits. The disadvantages easily outweigh this one benefit. So why should Oregon try to fix a problem that's not even there? Thank you.